These days, it seems we live in a very busy world. There's so much going on in front of our eyes, ears, and even on our screens. At times, it feels hard to be heard by anyone, including those around us. And in fact, conversation sometimes feels like a jeopardy of sorts, where people are always ready to interject with their points. Today, I'd like to help you become a better listener, because the best way to be heard is to truly listen. This is the first in a 3-part series on how to be a better conversationalist, starting with how to listen better, then we'll go into how to communicate better, and eventually, how to give better advice and be more persuasive. So stay tuned for that. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button and click that bell. All of the ideas that I'll be bringing to you are things I want to practice in my own personal life, because I think listening is important, and even if you think you're pretty good at it, you could always be better. Sometimes listening to someone at the right times is one of the most important things that you can do, and you just want to be ready for that. So the first thing we're going to look at is to be fully present when we're listening to someone. Now this might seem straightforward and not a big deal, but consider how much people miss out on when they're distracted. Sometimes if you're driving and texting, you don't make it home, and there are laws about that. And it's not that we need to enforce listening properly, but it is important to know that if you are distracted while you're listening, you're going to miss out on a lot of content, right? Just scrolling through your phone can be hard, and I myself am very guilty of this. So the first thing we're going to do is to make sure that you try to focus and give your full attention to whoever is speaking. Being fully absorbed into what someone is saying helps breed better understanding, and that's why we want to practice conscious listening. So, if being attentive is not your strong suit and listening doesn't come easy for you, I found a couple exercises that are aimed to help you with that. The first one is to meditate or hold silence if that's not your thing. The idea here is to stop pushing out your thoughts and practice some self-restraint. If you're not ready for that interjection and pushing for the conversation to go your way, you're more able to receive what someone's saying and listen to it fully. If that's not your cup of tea, you could also consider trying this next thing when you're in public. The idea is to isolate a single noise out of the ambience. There is so much going on in public. There are birds, traffic stops, cars, people walking around. If you're able to isolate one of those noises and hold on to it as you go about your day, you'll be a little bit better at focusing in on someone's voice when they're speaking to you. The next thing we're going to talk about is trying to hold no judgment or less agendas. While this sounds hard, it's not entirely impossible, but the goal here isn't to eliminate it entirely, but rather to keep yourself in check. When you're listening to someone and you want to interject, or you have thoughts, I want you to question what your motives are. What is the reason that you're about to speak? What is the reason you're about to say something? And does it serve your understanding? Consider their point of views and priorities on whatever it is they're saying, and try and understand things in their shoes. Because remember, once again, what they're saying is from their own viewpoint, and obviously there will be some differences from your own. When somebody's speaking to you, and they go on a tangent, or they digress, and you haven't fully understood, feel free to ask questions, get clarification, try and dig out the important details about what it is that they're saying. More often than not, it'll keep you engaged and more interested. At the end of the day, I want you to try and get someone's entire story before you consider and respond. Remember, they're only going to give you tidbits, and until you get it all out of them, you're not going to fully understand where they're coming from or what they exactly want from you. Sometimes they just want to be heard. Other times they will be looking for advice, and it's important to know everything about the situation. Now, it's very important that you show that you're listening. If you're just sitting there, dead-faced, and someone's speaking at you, they don't understand necessarily whether or not you're actually paying attention and even intrigued or curious about what's going on. They might just think that you're tuning them out. So a couple of things that you can do to kind of actively participate while you're listening as they continue are to nod your head. You can insert your ums or ahs as you hear things or get clarification. You're also free to summarize what you've heard and bring it back to them as you ask or extrapolate things that you're trying to figure out. It is also important to interject just a little bit of yourself into the conversation. When you're listening to someone and they're going on about a topic, sometimes as you bring up something related, it shows that you're invested in the topic at hand, right? When you offer a similar experience or something related to note, it's appreciated by someone who's not sure whether or not you're listening. Yeah, at the end of the day, if someone knows they're being heard, it's a much more productive conversation, and that's better for everybody. If nothing else, I'd like you to look at listening as a two-way engagement, where someone is trying to tell you their story, and you're trying to figure out the best ways to understand them and get it out of them, because there are going to be details that are left behind if you're not very attentive. Some of the most interesting stories that I've ever heard or read come from everyday life situations, and I challenge you to consider that some of the people around you have the same experiences to offer, as long as you're willing to hear them. It was a short one for me today. I didn't have much to say, but I did think it was important. If you have any thoughts about listening, or you have any stories about one of the better listeners in your life, I'm all ears. I think the more exchange we have about good listening, the better it will be. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate it, and I hope you guys are having an awesome day. I'll catch you later.